First and foremost, it is not 60% of our revenue going to debt, it is 70%. Number two, my good friend, we have done the audit. I bothered to spend a lot of money in the year 2021, 2022, to do an audit because I needed to understand what the problems were when I was going for the presidential race. That audit is there. We have done it. There's nothing like doing it again. We did it. And we did what is called a forensic audit. A forensic audit means that you look at numbers in relation to the law. That's why I bothered trying to say that money did not enter the consolidated fund. So for you to believe that only 20 or so percent was stolen, you're living in la la land. What has happened here with the true numbers, as I've given you, is that you have a situation here where we have no debt. We literally have no debt. If we were to go by the law, what does the law say? Where do you anchor this debt? What is it for? If you look at that, you do not find this debt anywhere. The 6.4 trillion I'm talking about did not fund anything on our budget, did not do anything that you can say you can attribute it to. And the law says you borrow according to the budget to finance the budget. There's nothing else you're financing. You can only finance the budget. What happened here from 2013, 2014 specifically, is that there is a budget in the Treasury and there is a budget in Parliament. They created two books, and two books, the one in the Treasury is pure theft. I'll give you an example. In the year 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, public debt as listed by CBK was a total of 2.6 trillion. When you look at public debt in the Appropriation Act in Parliament, in other words, what went specifically to items that were in the budget, in all those 4 years, it was 969 billion. So you have 1.6 trillion that is not authorized by Parliament, that funded nothing, that the Auditor General has no sight of, that the Controller of Budget did not approve any expenditure to. If you believe 1.6 trillion is 20%, then good luck to you. If you look thereafter at the years 2018 to 2022, the public debt, 3.4 trillion was what was taken. When you look at what was authorized by Parliament, 1 trillion. 1 trillion. A total of 2.4 trillion. Nowhere. You cannot find it. It is in no budget, financing no line item. This is not 10, 20% business. This is very serious heist. And many people are unable to conceptualize this because they don't seem to understand that a fraud has been done on us as Kenyans. A massive fraud that is world scale. A massive fraud that is phenomenal in understanding. It has nothing to do with, even if you take the corruption of Moi and whoever in the past, it has nothing to do, it is nowhere in comparison to what has happened here. You know, there was a man called Patney who started something called Goldenberg. And Goldenberg was really just a raid on the treasury. You go and say you have exported gold, create some documents in Grogan, have it stamped, customs that it has been exported, you come and collect 35%, and they printed money, right? This is the same. This is the kind of fraud. Somebody somewhere has printed, right? Created a bubble, and they pocketed the money. And it's huge money. And we are paying for it. And we'll continually pay for it. This is such a phenomenal amount. You are talking about governors? Governors take 400 billion. If we were saving 1.9 trillion this year, what is 400 billion? They can have their counties. They can have all that. What's the big deal? In fact, we should be talking about making devolution work. You still have the mentality, this thing of we must think small, we must think this. Don't take us there. A big theft has happened here. If we address the 1.9 going out, there's no other expenditure like it. We addressed the 2.2 that is going to go out in the next financial year. There's no out like that. No money is going out to that extent that is unaccountable. It is not 10, 20% of it. That is what even we used to imagine until we did the audit, till we looked at the numbers, till we tried to find out where is this money. It is nowhere. There are two books operating here. Like you hear in some countries, there are some who say they export gold and they don't produce gold, and the treasury has got two books. We have got two books in this country, one being run by the treasury and one that is passed for all of us to see from parliament. Treasury does its own things. In the last budget, you see, what did parliament pass for loans? And then you see the Gazette notice a month later from the treasury is talking about something very different. For example, in this last budget, they said that they are funding 800 billion shillings worth of development. In fact, they brought it down in the supplementary to 700. Fine. And they say of the 700, they are going to borrow 400, right? They are going to borrow 400 in external loans. Okay? They don't talk about domestic. In external loans to fund that development budget. Right. A month later, in the actuals or statements of the Treasury, Gazette notice, they say, oh, they are going to borrow 700 external loans, and they are going to borrow another 700, no, 1 trillion in domestic debt. Where's domestic debt in the budget? It doesn't exist. So when you say there is 10%, 20% theft, you're living in a land that you'd like to believe there's some sanity. There's no sanity here. What happened here is a complete insanity, my friend. Do not minimize it to talking about salaries of governors and expenditure in counties. It's nothing. This is a very serious issue. Massive theft has happened upon us. And unless we deal with this massive theft, no amount of saving in counties or expenses, I don't know where, is going to help us. This is a very major problem we have. This singular one is the biggest problem, nightmare. Unfortunately, our laws are our guide. Our laws very clearly tell us what we can and cannot do. Other countries are not even as good. Mozambique had a problem like this of their what they call their tuna bond. And their tuna bond was very similar to our Eurobond. And theirs was also $2 billion done by Credit Suisse and a Russian bank called RVM or something of the sort. Now, the citizens, took the matter to court. And the court said this is odious debt. An investigation was done, and sure enough, it was odious. IMF, everybody got involved. Credit Suisse had to refund the money. People have been taken to jail, the latest one even being the Minister of Finance, who's been jailed for money laundering in America for 7 years, right? He is still going to come and serve another term in Mozambique for what they did. This is what is done. In Malaysia, a very similar thing happened. That tuna bond was 2 billion theft. It was taken. It's not 10, 20%. There's massive theft going on here. There is a program, and I don't believe we are the only ones in Africa. Seems to be some people who are going around looking for kleptocrats in leadership to go and do this. And unfortunately, they seem to be supported by maybe some of their own countries, because there is seemingly a plan to keep us down, to keep this African down, to keep making sure that we are not economically emancipated. Because if we do, we seem to be ruffling the feathers of those that maybe had colonized us and are perpetuating the same. So, my friend, Bonnie, in all due respect, kindly, this is not normal. You spoke the same way I heard you last week when Willis was talking. This is not normal. This is abnormal. This is abnormal numbers. This is not just little numbers. It is abnormal theft that has happened here. And the minute you understand it, the minute you grasp it, if you don't have our document, we can send it to you. You digest it, and digest it you should, because this is a very serious issue. Don't just wish it away as normal.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, and thank you so much for saying that. I don't want to add anything, but
I got a response quickly, if you don't
y-
mind. Just
y-
give me
y-
3 minutes. Can
Bonnie,
we do that?
do you want to respond, or you wait to give your
Yeah.
time?
No, give me 3 minutes so I can respond quickly and get off.
Okay.
Listen, first of all, let's make sure that we understand what I'm saying. What I told you is that I don't believe, having spent time looking at I spent time looking at every major debt that we've taken over the last 10 years. And I'm the first one to tell you that there is a possibility that a good portion, 10%, 15%, 20% of the money has been stolen. It is not 100%, it is not 50%, it's not 70%. And to understand this is not actually rocket science. All you have to do is understand our budget, understand how much we spend every year, understand our shortcomings every year. I just posted something on this. Yes. You have to be here. And okay. I have to ask you. We close in actually, 5 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. I'll come right back. Give me
Okay,
two
buddy.
minutes.
Thank you so much.
You can
We'll
go.
come back later. Okay, let us go on. Thank you. We will hear what you're saying, but I think what Honorable was saying, or Mheshimiwa Wanjigi, that this thing is bigger than the county level, which is a national thing. That's what we're talking about. I think that was the point. So when they get
Hillary,
that, yes,
Hillary, let
yes.
me tell you, you know, when I hear people saying that they spend their time with budget numbers, I don't know which budget numbers. When you look at, I'm giving you the figures. I've given you actual audited figures that we did in those years, right? In 4 years, if you look at what the budget, the debt that was taken and what was passed by the budget, you have the numbers. That is the law. Any other expenditure, I don't know which budget item is talking about. The numbers we are talking about are phenomenal. They are not normal. So I don't know which books he's looking at. Number two, he must look at those books in relation to the laws of the land. That is why it's called a forensic audit. A forensic audit. And for him to start talking about 10, 20% theft, he's in dreamland, complete dreamland. We will give you all the education you want, but you are in dreamland. This is massive theft beyond your comprehension. Beyond your comprehension. Please carry on, Hillary.
Thank you so much, Wishimiwa. We really appreciate that, and thank you so much for coming again. We are here with Honorable Wanjigi. No,
Hillary,
no, no, Abdi, wait. We are here with Honorable Wanjigi. Those who are joining and we're keeping conversation. When you have a mic, please make it 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so that we can go.
Hillary, sorry, I have a minute there.
We can go ahead and make sure that everybody have a space. Otherwise, Dr. Milton, go ahead. Bonnie was talking. Bonnie is
Yeah,
gone.
Bonnie was coming back to say something. I don't know whether he's still there.
No,
Just
it dropped. I
before.
can't see him, but let me bring him back. But go ahead as I bring him back. Mm.
Okay. I want to take the opportunity to pass my greetings to everyone that has taken their time to be here tonight, and I also want to, in signature fashion, celebrate and pay tribute to the men and women, boys and girls who have paid the ultimate price in seeking and agitating for the liberation, the economic liberation. And I also want to thank Jimmy for what he has been doing and being able to join us here tonight. So I I want to be very brief. I'll try and be brief and talk for 2 minutes, maybe three at most. So number one, I agree largely with the thinking and the philosophy that Mr. Wanjigi has been talking about, which is to we do not have a reason to pay for any debt that the Kenyan people had nothing to do with. First of all, the debt portfolio that we are being told about. I've had Badi talk about 70 billion that was paid this week. um, I believe that we shouldn't be paying that debt because the Kenyan people were never consulted as required by the constitution, and therefore we should not be told that some money was taken uh, on our behalf. And I think I've been outspoken on that point. I did mention this last time. Ruto was in China with Mbadi. I think that was in August or thereabout, and they said that they had gone to get another 40 something billion loan. And I said, Kenyans did not send them to get that. And whoever gives them any signs of any loan to the Kenyan people must expect that those individuals that have signed did not have the blessings of the people, and the recovery way is through getting that money from those people individually. So I do believe that we don't have to pay that debt. I want to speak to something very, very important. We are talking about 5.4 trillion of domestic debt that uh, apparently Kenyans are supposed to pay. First of all, it is unethical that a government will compete with its citizens to borrow from the domestic market. It doesn't happen anywhere. It is illegal. The government and the people of Kenya should have no business paying the 5.4 trillion in domestic debt. That is theft. People are enriching themselves from that, and you would see them pontificate how hardworking they are, and it is not acceptable. The other thing, we talk about 900 or so billion, let's say a trillion of money that is paid in pending bills. I want to say this, and I've said it in the past. I do not understand how we have a trillion shillings in pending bills when every year, every financial year, we are told that the budget deficit has been plugged through borrowing. So Kenyans cannot be paying debt and at the same time we are paying pending bills. What are those pending bills for? I want to say categorically here today, and Bonnie has spoken to us about this. Governor Nanok, now who's working in State House, paid pending bills of I don't know 5 billion just before he left office. And you ask yourself, why are we having pending bills at the end of the financial year? Yet Treasury comes back and says the capacity absorption rate of the budgeted money to the counties, for example, stands at between 60 and 70%. They actually return money to the national treasury. So what are we talking about when we say we still have pending bills? Yes, there could be those that are legitimate, but I do believe that a lot, 80-90% of the pending bills ni kazi ya kule nyumbani Kinyamira we say ni overscience. Yani these are people who cock up numbers and they just want to make money because they live in this mentality that taxpayers' money is free money for people to steal and it is not for service delivery. I want to pose a question as I learn directly to Honorable Wanjigi. If and he paints a very bleak picture, and sometimes it can water down the hope of those who believe that we are in what we are because of William Ruto, and removing him from office as early as yesterday is an urgent priority for the Kenyan people because it will emancipate our people. But then when we say that even if we brought Wanjigi himself, we are likely to go back to the same situation. How then do we get ourselves out of this? And is Honorable Wanjigi suggesting that the vitriol and the bile towards William Ruto and his illegitimate regime, I still believe they are illegitimate and they are the problem. Are you, Honorable Wanjigi, then saying that we are directing our anger to the wrong quarter? And do you believe and do you agree with me? And that's my last point. When I say the time has come that you and me and others who are speaking to go the Mozambique way and say we are moving to the International Court of Justice and saying we want to sue every individual that claims to be owed money by the Kenyan people and say we are not going to pay. And in the interim period, we need to move our courts, the judiciary in Nairobi, to say we are getting interim orders against the treasury from paying any debt in the short term. And Wakili Willis and other legal minds in the house, please help me on this. How do we apply the concept of universal jurisdiction to get the Kenyan people freed in the interim period from continued slavery of paying odious debt that they shouldn't be paying in the end and which continues to oppress the people? I learned at that point maybe I would come back, but I have taken 6 minutes. I asked for three. Pardon me. I hope my questions are clear and I've made my point. I will try to come back whenever I feel there's something I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Milton. Uh, Honorable, can you write them down? Then I'll give you time to respond so that we can have sample questions. Is that okay, Mheshimiwa?
Yes, yes, I shall. Yes, I